Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Coaches Corner University podcast. I am your host, Paul O'Need, and today I am joined by Jeromy Bryk. Jeromy and I have been Instagram friends for a while, finally sitting down, meeting in person, quote unquote. Jeromy is a coach. He's the owner of Bryksquad Training or Bryksquad Barbell, excuse me. And he's here to share a story and talk shop. Jeromy, welcome to the podcast, man.
Thanks for having me on, Paul. Been listening to the podcast for a long time. I spend a lot of mornings driving to the gym listening to it, so it's really cool to be on and catch up with you.
Well, that makes you and my mom, so that's fantastic. So listen, man, tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm a personal trainer. I coach primarily bodybuilders, powerlifters, general fitness too. I'm the owner of Bryksquad Barbell in North Royalton, Ohio, with my wife Gabrielle. We opened up in August of 2023, so we've been at it for almost 2 years now. Opened that up, and I do kind of like a hybrid of in-person training, and then I have an online coaching base as well. I've been self-employed working in this space since 2021. So I did just online coaching for a couple years before we moved into our facility.
So you started online coaching during COVID.
Yeah, right after. That's kind of the shutdown. So I was working in the commercial gyms at the time. And when the shutdown happened, I kind of all of a sudden I had all this time to like think.
Yeah.
I wasn't really happy the way things were going in the commercial gyms that I was working in. And I kind of always wanted to transition into being self-employed and working for myself, running online coaching. So that gave me a lot of time to sort of build out what I wanted to do, and sort of gave me time to focus on. All of a sudden, I started focusing on content, posting more, giving out just more valuable information. And then within about a year, so I started really posting content in like the summer of 2020. So
Okay.
right as gyms were starting to open back up.
I wish gyms were starting to open back
Yeah,
up in 2020 back in Canada.
yeah, you guys had a rough
Yeah.
with that. I got real consistent on my content game. I had a decent following already through competing.
Mhm.
Because like I said, I'd been bodybuilding and powerlifting since 2014. So I was already 6 years in at that point, had started to do some good stuff in the competition realm. Then I started posting information, getting more consistent on the content game on that side of things. By the early 2021, I was ready to step out of my job in the commercial gym and go full-time online. And that's kind of where things all started. So that was like February 2021.
And so, I mean, opening up a gym, brick and mortar after COVID,
Mm-hmm.
that's risky.
Yeah.
How did you is that something you always wanted to do? And finally you were just like, all right, let's do it. Or was it a strategic, like, okay, I'm going to online coach for this much time, earn this much money, then I'm going to make the leap.
Yeah. So I think that was it was a combination of, I've always wanted to own a gym.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of my big goals coming up in the fitness industry, was ultimately one day I wanted to own a gym. I didn't think it would happen as soon as it did.
Okay.
It was sort of the opportunity presented itself, and we figured now or never. It was fairly calculated, I guess, in the sense that we had some money saved up. I had the baseline of my business. I had a bit of a following going already, so I had my services lined up.
Mm-hmm.
But what ended up happening was a gym up the street from where I used to train. There was a small 24/7 facility. What happened was they approached me to ultimately purchase their gym and run it. Now, that, long story short, that didn't work out. The overhead was insane, and like you said, it would have been too much of a risk.
Right.
But during that time, it got my wife and I thinking. We were like, okay, that's what that looks like. We started looking around some small storage units and see if there was any commercial storage facilities at a reasonable price, and we found one about 15 minutes from where we live.
Okay.
And we had a little bit of basement equipment saved up already from COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, I have some clients. The overhead's not insane. We have a little bit of money saved up. Let's go for it. So it was a combination of I always wanted to do it, and then opportunity kind of presented itself, and it just felt like the right time.
A lot of people approach gym ownership. Like, obviously, I've been in the industry for a really long time. I've been approached about opening a gym. I
Yeah.
have stayed away from it as far as I could because my experience is people do it one of two ways. They either take the field of dreams method, where if I build it, they will come, never works,
Mhm.
or they end up in a position where they're working to pay their overhead
Mhm.
and they've just essentially bought themselves a job.
Yeah.
How have you avoided both of those pitfalls?
So I think the big key has been having the hybrid training model
Okay.
that I run. I think that's been a big part of it. Obviously, we started off pretty. Our thing when we went into it was be lean and mean.
Okay.
As far as equipment costs go, we bought everything mostly cash. So we don't have all this. We didn't take on any massive loans to get any of our equipment. A lot of our
Good.
stuff, yeah, a lot of our stuff we did was either stuff we had already, or you know we met up with friends that were selling their equipment and we got a good price on. Facebook Marketplace was a big thing for us.
2023 was when people started transitioning out of their home gyms and
Yeah,
back to
it was really
commercials. So
cool.
you probably got some great stuff.
Oh yeah, it was insane. And I had a friend of mine from the previous gym that I was training out of reach out to me shortly after we opened, and he gave me like the deal of a lifetime on some equipment.
Hell yeah.
He let me do some payments on it and stuff. But that was a lot of it. Was we kept it really lean and mean.
Hmm.
We went in, and it's a small facility. It's 1,400 square feet.
Okay.
For now, we're going to be expanding at the end of
Hell
the year.
yeah.
Yeah, so we've got there's an empty storage unit right next to us, so we're gonna knock a hole through the wall basically and
That's awesome.
double the size. But we kept it lean and mean. And then on top of that, like I've had the online client base,
Right.
so that pays the majority of it. And then basically, it was just getting in person people in there to start turning a profit.
Mm.
And on top of that, not having all the loans that I think a lot of people really get in over their heads with having the fanciest equipment and having these big bills to pay right away.
Hmm.
We're fine with having less, but cultivating a better environment for people to train in and just being like, this is what we've got right now, and having people there for the build with us.
So what's the business model of the gym? So you obviously have your online business, you
Mhm.
have an in-person personal training business. Do you have contractors? Do you have memberships? Like, how does the gym operate itself?
Yeah, so it's a semi-private facility
Okay.
essentially. So most of the work is done with my wife and I personal training, and then she does group fitness classes in there as well.
Okay.
And we have a very limited membership base too, so that helps a little bit.
Keep going, man. I want to know the details.
Yeah, so that's kind of how we have that set up. Um, and then from there it's been a lot of referral. We have a small storefront website, some signage, and it's been pretty basic from there. Um, but the in-person training, the low overhead, the group training, and then the small membership base we have, that's how we sustain ourselves. And then on the back end, like I said, I've got a pretty established online system going already. So that's helped me a lot in having a baseline built up already. So that way the gym is sort of, they're two separate things, but all feeds into each other.
It definitely all feeds into itself. And I mean, if you do it right with a hybrid model, you can leverage those in-person clients into online services to then, kind of double dip, increase your revenue per client. So
Exactly.
how many people does it take to sustain this? Like, how many members do you have? How many clients are you working with at any given time, in person, online?
Yeah. So I think we've got about 35 paying members that are currently in the gym. We have to cap it because the
Yeah, for
space is
sure.
so small. And then online, I've got I've usually around 40, 45
Good
clients.
for you.
And then in person, I don't have a ton of clients. I got about a dozen consistent ones that come
Yeah.
multiple times a week. But like you said, with the hybrid thing, a lot of them are doing online training too. So
Mhm.
I've been able to sell higher packages
Yep.
because they're getting all these touches with me even when they're not in the gym.
Dude, the more young coaches that I work with who embrace like the hybrid model,
Yeah.
they just see how much more profitable it is.
Mm,
Not only that, how much more value you can actually add.
exactly.
But that's assuming that you do love coaching in person.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Um, Truth be told, I miss coaching in person. And I used to keep one or two in person clients at all times just to keep myself fresh
Yeah.
because I missed it. But now that we're in Charlotte, like I don't have that. And I actually miss being on the gym floor. It's something special.
Yeah, it's kind of I've always loved in-person training. I don't like to do like a ton of it. I think if I was in the gym 60 hours a week, I've done that. I've gone that route before.
I think we all have, yeah.
You know, especially in the commercial gyms just cuz I was having to do 60, 70 sessions a week just to, pay the bills, but yeah, in-person training's been great because I think without that baseline, that skill set I learned through the in-person training, one like you said, it keeps me fresh.
Mhm.
It keeps me seeing people face to face. I get to touch grass every day, basically.
Yeah.
Outside the online space, go talk to people, have actual in person conversations. Then that actual like skill set from like coaching wise, I love it because there's stuff I can just pick up on in person that I can transfer it to online, but it's just different. I like that it happens quicker, like those light bulb moments you have with
Hmm.
people when you're teaching them, how to engage your lats on a deadlift, for example.
Yeah, you can touch them.
Yeah, you get that tactile cueing, and they learn it like that. So it's always really cool to see that in person. That's one of my favorite. That's one of my big favorite parts about it. For
How
sure.
do you translate the community that you've built in person
Mhm.
to the online space or vice versa?
So it's actually really cool. We run through a training app.
Okay.
Um, my wife and I have that set up. I used to be just like Word docs and sheets, like a lot of coaches are.
Yeah.
About 2 years ago, I think that long ago. Yeah, so early 2024, I fully moved over to the training app. And within there, we have team chats for the entire Bryksquad community, which includes in person and online people. Then we've got just our Cleveland group chat. And then
Okay.
another big thing that we do is we do powerlifting, obviously, my wife and I.
Okay.
So we schedule team meets a couple times a year. That
Like just you guys.
So we're doing our first like at the gym like SBD day in September
Okay.
for the local people, but we schedule meets on the calendar that are reasonable, like driving distance or travel distance for people. We
Hmm.
say, okay, we're going to take everybody who wants to compete to Pittsburgh this weekend.
Yeah.
We see who can get to turn up. So a lot of our out of state people will come and meet us at those things, at those meets, and that's really helped a lot in terms of combining that community because I will bring in person people that are at our gym
Yep.
and people who somebody who lives in Kentucky.
Hmm.
We'll have out of state people and they all get to kind of meet each other. We get to all hang out in person for a couple days, and that really has fortified our community for sure.
I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. I think
Mhm.
having the two pieces, so because there has to be an element of belonging when you're in
Yeah.
the online space, because I think that there's certain elements of your coaching that aren't necessarily coaching related but
Mhm.
help to build the business, and community is one of those. So whether you have a group chat or in an app you have like a group or like a Facebook group or a Discord channel, somewhere where you can interact with people, they can share their experiences and feel like they're part of something greater. It doesn't necessarily make the results of the coaching better,
Mhm.
but it makes them feel a part of something and it's going to keep them around longer. And so
Yeah.
their retention rates are going to be higher.
It's huge. Yeah. Yeah, our that's something like we really pride ourselves on too. I'm not sure what my exact average retention rate is,
Hmm.
but I do know it's over a year for sure.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's to me, that's a hallmark of a great service is when you can look at your retention and go, all right, 1 year, 2 years, 2 years, 3 years.
yeah,
Like one of my biggest points of pride with my coaching is I still have my first client.
that's awesome. I
Yeah,
love that.
11 years. He's my
Yeah,
first client with Master Athletic Performance.
yeah. I think I've got my couple. I think my longest one is 7. So I've got a couple 7s, a couple 6 years. These are people that they've followed me from the gyms I was training at before,
Yep.
through the online service, through now having Bryksquad Barbell. They've been through that, like through all that. But yeah, to go back to your point, having that community like you said, I'm not sure results wise how much it changes thing. I do think it keeps people
Oh yeah, for sure.
accountability wise, because like they're not just answering to me, they're not just answering to my wife, but they're answering to their peers,
Yep.
especially in the gym setting. Like that's huge because people, they'll bust their balls about not being there.
Really?
Yeah, so it's nice. Yeah, so it's nice when it's you have the other clients, other members helping you out as far as helping keep each other accountable. But yeah, having that sense of belonging is huge, and I think that's really, especially since we switched our platform to having the entire online community mixed
Yeah.
with the person community. Yeah, it's made my retention rate so much higher, and the results have gotten better too. Yeah.
What's what do you think was the actually, you know what? I want to ask this question first.
Yeah.
When you're setting up your online business, so it's 2021, you're like, okay, I'm going to transition online. How did you kind of figure it out? Did you have a mentor? Did you
Yeah,
kind of make mistakes as you went? Like, what was that process like?
kind of all the above. I had a couple business coaches I worked with
Okay.
off and on throughout the beginning process. I was originally in an online partnership with another coach during like the summer of 2020. We were kind of working on the back end to get me out of my job, and like
Okay.
I was going to work for her, and that kind of fell through. And then I hired a business coach shortly after I launched my business in 2021.
How was that experience?
That was a great experience.
Yeah.
I think it really got the ball rolling for me as far as my biggest issue is, and I think most coaches would agree, it's like lead generation.
Yep.
That was the biggest thing at the beginning was, okay, where do I get people from? Because I had enough to get started, but I wanted it to be sustainable.
Yeah.
So and then but I mean, besides that, yes, just a lot of trial and error. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I think having the in-person coaching experience that I had, because I was already 5 or 6 years into it.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, I knew I had the skill set, so I had a lot of confidence going in.
Yep.
And as far as like systems and everything go, that's something we're constantly revamping. We're constantly trying to make that better.
Yep.
Never us.
I was having this conversation with actually Olivia's posing coach because her name is Mina. She's fantastic at her job, like phenomenal posing coach. But she's at the point where the systems that she has aren't robust enough to allow her to grow. And there's an interest in her services, and she wants to do a little bit more actual coaching on top of the posing. And I kind of just told her, I was like, these are the natural progressions of business. You're going to have a system that's in place that's going to allow you to get to a certain point. And then
Yeah.
at that certain point, something's going to break. And then you're going to figure out how to fix it. You're going to level up. Then you're going to grow to that next point. Something's going to break.
Yeah.
When
Exactly.
when it was just Olivia and I, Google Sheets, WhatsApp, easy. Then we added a couple coaches, got a little bit more complicated. Income started to scale, gross income for the business. Now
Mm.
we're at 5 coaches plus us. Cool. Now we need a CRM. Now we need a new website. Now we need a new payment processor. Now we need an app. So it's like you get to these levels and then you constantly have to be iterating if you want to grow. And there's a point. I have this conversation with a lot of coaches too. Is like, at what point is your growth okay? Right?
Exactly.
Like with your business, do you have aspirations of, 7 figures, eight? Like, what do you want to do with the business? Or is it just, all right, like we're doing what we're doing, we're making good money, we're comfortable, we're happy. Where do we stop?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. That's huge, and for me, I've definitely seen that process through my business. At first, it's amazing, like the self development you have to go through.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, I mean, I say it all the time now because I've really the last 2 years, especially since opening the gym, I've really had to dig into not just leveling up like my business, but leveling up myself too. Like checking my emotions, dealing with self limiting beliefs, all these things that didn't get in the way at first, but all of a sudden they start popping up as things start to get bigger and you get busier. Because that becomes a big bottleneck too. So
That's
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 you know
obviously something I'm super interested in. So
yeah,
let's dive into that. Like,
yeah.
one of the best quotes I've heard on this subject was, "Have you read the book Atomic Habits by James Clear?"
I haven't never read it.
Fan-
Yeah.
Fantastic book. he has a quote. I'm not sure if it's in that book or in something else he's written, but
Mm-hmm.
it was entrepreneurship is a personal development exercise
Yeah.
masked as a revenue generating opportunity.
Love that.
And it's like that hit home so much for me because I've seen as I've invested more into my personal growth, the
Yeah.
business has just taken off. So, what are some things that maybe for you were roadblocks in the beginning that you've addressed?
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing was first was kind of coming out of my shell, getting into content,
Okay.
learning how to talk on camera, um, putting myself out there in general. I really held myself back. I think everybody kind of deals with imposter syndrome to an extent. I certainly did early on. Um, I solved that mainly through action. I just was like,
Dude,
this
yes.
is what I'm like. This is
Just
what
do
I'm,
it.
yeah. Then like this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I can if this doesn't work, I can live with it knowing I tried.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of how I started to solve that. And then once the results start coming in, that voice in your head gets quieter.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause you start seeing the results coming in, and then it's no longer like, do I really think I'm that good? It's like you have the confidence built up because you're delivering every single day. Your content's getting better. Clients are getting results. Like it's silly to listen to something in the back of your head saying I'm not good enough because
Mm-hmm.
you're delivering on what you said you were going to do. So that's what really helped. That's what really helped me from that aspect. The more the last year or two, especially since opening the gym, and we've had obviously it takes up a lot more of my time than just running the online service did.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to get really clear on boundaries.
Okay.
I was terrible at that at the beginning.
We all are, man.
Like, yeah, I was. I mean, it was awful for a couple years there. And it was starting to cause bottlenecks for me, and
Mm-hmm.
I was getting to the point, especially after we opened the gym, I was starting to resent my business a little bit
Mm-hmm.
because I wasn't saying no to I wasn't saying no to stuff like I was supposed to be. I felt like you said, I felt like I created another job,
Yep.
which is not what I wanted. So I felt like I was, my back was always against the wall and not being able to say no to things or having enough structure.
Mm-hmm.
So that really that opened my eyes. I was starting to really have some issues with that in early 2024, I would say. So I've gotten through a lot of that. We updated our policies, went through, creating better systems, and my wife's played a huge role in that,
Mm-hmm.
helping us refine these things and having things more streamlined. And then on the back end of it, I've been going to therapy for a year and a half.
Good for you, man.
You know, dealing with a lot of stuff that a lot of the stuff I didn't even realize,
Yep.
from growing up. It's like, I was like, why can't I, why do I have such a hard time with boundaries?
Yeah. Why
What?
why can't I be proud of myself? Why
Yeah.
why aren't I happy doing something
Yeah.
that I should be happy doing?
Hmm.
Dude, I've been through all that stuff. I mean, I started going to therapy. My first time going to therapy was in 2014.
Yeah.
That was when I quit coaching entirely. Um, and then in 2019, I was going through a bit of a life transition, started going to therapy, and I've been going since 2019 consistently. Even now, I go once a month. I just hop on Zoom with my therapist back in Canada and we chat. And very rarely do I keep her for the full hour. I just want to talk about life, have a check in, make sure that things are good. Therapy for me was life changing. And I love what you said about boundaries because it's an area where I think people give up boundaries because they feel like their business is like almost like they're holding their business in their hand and it's slipping through their fingers.
Yep.
And that feeling of having your back against the wall, that's a scarcity mindset. It's like,
Yep.
if
100%.
I stop, it's going to blow up.
Yep. Exactly.
And there are times when that's true,
Hmm.
right? Like there are times when you have to push. I call them seasons of yes and seasons of no. And you can't always be in a yes season. You can't say yes to everything all the time because you'll be in a position where you have too much on your plate, you can't deliver, and then your service drops. It's why you probably cap your roster online. It's probably why you cap your number of clients in person. It's because I can
Exactly.
only provide the level of service I want to provide to a certain number of people. Um, as my business has grown, just like to share some insights for you, one of the areas that I've dove into very actively is outsourcing,
Yep.
right? So we have the means to free up time so that I can have more time for myself.
Yeah.
So I have a virtual assistant. I have someone who posts on the social medias for Master Athletic, Coaches Corner University, the podcasts, blog posts, sends newsletters for, like, we generate all the content, but they're doing all the scheduling and stuff like that. You think about, if I'm charging whatever I'm charging for an hour of my time, and that person costs a tenth of what
Yeah.
I'm charging, even if I don't monetize that time,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, I actually just got to a point now where I have Fridays booked off and I don't book meetings on Fridays, because Fridays I go to the range. I'm
Yeah.
like, that's my day. I'm just going to go to the range. I have a couple things that I might do in the afternoon from an administrative perspective, but I freed up that time. And
Yeah.
that boundary that I've set allows me to show up better for my people.
Love that. Yeah, 100%. And that's what I was really running into, and that's been a consistent process for me. I just recently shortened up my Fridays too. That's going to be like my creative day. And
Yeah.
I'm going to spend time on content, and knowing we've got the gym expansion coming up too. I'm just trying to save some of my resources to make sure that, when I am showing up, I'm showing up at 100%. Because for a while there, I was not doing that. I wasn't blocking my schedule properly.
Mm-hmm.
I would just be. I was kind of more all over the place because I was afraid to say no to stuff because, like you said, as in my head, I'm like, if I stop, it's all going to blow up.
Yeah.
What happens is you stop and
It doesn't.
maybe you go away for a weekend and it doesn't.
Yeah.
You come back and everything's okay. If you communicate with people, they're understanding.
That's
You just got
that
to give people a chance.
that's an important piece. So one of the things that I have a lot of my mentees do, like, first thing through the door,
Yeah.
is I need you to put together a terms of service.
Yeah.
And they're a little bit shocked at, like, well, why? Like, I just want to start coaching people. I'm like, yeah, but you can't coach people until they know what your expectations are of them and what their expectations should be of you.
Yeah.
And if you want to have Fridays off,
Hmm.
like, I tend to work on the weekends, just not a lot on Saturday.
Hmm.
But if you're going to tell someone, hey, you're going to get 24-hour turnaround time on communication,
Yeah.
you have to give that. So if you're going to say 24-hour turnaround time, you have to say except Saturdays.
Yeah.
So they
Exactly.
know that.
Yeah.
And so what have been, okay, here's a question. What are some things that you do for yourself on a weekly basis now that you weren't able to do
Yeah.
before?
So, I mean, I guess some stuff. I mean, I selfishly like to train a lot. I like to be in.
As we do.
I like to not have to rush my workouts.
Yeah.
That's a big thing, So making sure I'm actually carving out time in my day to make sure I get that 2 hours,
Yeah.
whatever it is, to make sure I don't have to rush my training, make sure I don't have to rush my cardio. So that's some stuff that I do more of now. On the weekends, I have an easier time, like in the afternoons on Saturday and all day Sunday. I stopped answering messages for the weekends around 1 o'clock on Saturday,
Okay.
and then all day Sunday. That's communicated in my terms and conditions. That's unplugged time with my wife. We'll do like demo events on the weekends with Raw Nutrition because we're demo
Okay.
reps in the areas. So we'll go do stuff like that. But on the weekends, we're not doing that. Maybe we're just chilling at home on the couch, taking a nap. We'll go walk the dog down at the lake, or
Hell
just
yeah.
especially in the summertime. We'll head out to the lake for the weekend. Just time where you're just present with each other, or a time where keeping my mind off training, keeping my mind off work.
How has it been building a business with your wife?
It's been exciting, man. She's been there for me since literally the very beginning. She's the one that talked me out of quitting my commercial gym job. I was gonna do it. We had just started dating.
Mhm.
Um, we started dating in January 2021. I quit my corporate gym job in February. So
Oh,
she's
wow.
been there from like the very beginning. But I can't say I'd be here without her. 100% because I mean she's given me the confidence she's had. She's got a lot of backbone. She's pushed me to do things I'm uncomfortable with. and ultimately breathed, she's breathed life into me,
I love that,
as like,
man.
yeah, she's always told me to speak highly of myself, highlighted my strengths, calls me out when I need to be called out, doesn't let my ego go unchecked.
It's a good woman.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, she's amazing. But yeah, she's been there from the very start of it. So she's always she's always been around. It's challenging in the sense that you do have to separate your relationship from your business
Yep.
relationship. You know, that's a big challenge, but it's been great because we're both all in on it. And every challenge that we go through, we're in it together. You
Yeah.
know, so
It's
it's been very nice.
obviously in the same boat over here with
Mhm.
Olivia and I being co-owners of Master Athletic. And it's I always tell her that like she's my superpower. Like without Liv, I don't think I know for a fact Master Athletic would not be where it is today. And when we started dating in 2021 as well. She
Mhm.
came on board in 2022 as a coach, and then in October we made her part owner, and from there it just like completely snowballed. And it is a challenge because I'm someone who wants to talk about business all the time.
Man.
She's quick to pump the brakes. But some of the strategies we use, like even though we're working together, we don't really see each other much during the day. Maybe we run into each other in the kitchen because she's got her office upstairs, my office is downstairs. But every night we connect and we go on a walk, even if it's 10-15 minutes, we just go on a walk and touch base on our day and what's going on. And if we have to talk about business, we actually will book meetings with each other. So
Yeah.
we'll say, hey, on Friday afternoon, we're going to talk about the brand, and we'll sit down at the kitchen table with our laptops and we'll talk about business. But if it's not in a meeting, we don't
Yeah.
talk about business. Like this weekend, we went to the lake, didn't talk about business, just hung out, chatted,
Mhm.
connected. And I think that's super important because if you don't cultivate the relationship and it all becomes about business,
Yeah.
man, that's
Exactly.
not, you're not going to be able to, you're not going to be able to enjoy your person.
No, 100%. Yeah, so that has its challenges for sure, but yeah, Brick Squad wouldn't exist the way it does today without her, especially on the she does all the back end stuff for the gym, you know.
Yeah.
The gym number is her personal phone number because I don't answer my phone the way she answers hers. So she's been there for all that. She officially became like we merged in like 2023 with that. That was
Okay.
right that we officially there because she's run her own uh, personal training and group fitness business. She's worked a full time job on top of this the entire way through.
Oh, wow.
But so she's been doing that. I think she started in group fitness and personal training before I started on my own.
Okay.
So we kind of ran them separately, but bounced ideas off each other for the first couple years we were together.
Mhm.
And right before we opened the gym, we consolidated everything basically. So like we merged into just one company.
Cool.
Yeah.
Dude, sounds like you've got a great thing going. I love to hear it. And I mean, as you know, the podcast is all about just like showcasing the ways in which we can build a life around fitness to serve others. And you're doing it on so many levels. And I want to dive into you a little bit. Like, how did you get into training? What's your education? How did you get here?
Yeah. So I started lifting weights in my seventh grade summer. I
Oh, wow,
was
early.
This is 2007. Yeah.
Okay.
Um, I was I was a skinny kid growing up. I'd always played sports, so I was always active. But I got to about seventh grade and I started playing football. So and I naturally picked up like the NFL magazines and stuff like that. And I saw the way these guys looked, and I was like, I need to look like that if I'm going to be doing this.
Yep.
So I started seventh grade summer. I had some dumbbells, some resistance bands. I did push ups, sit ups. You
A
know,
lot of curls.
Yep, a lot of curls. I did all the
Yep.
show muscles. Then went back into eighth grade, and I always say that was like my first taste of like seeing like the fruits of my labor pay off
Yep.
because people did notice a change in me,
Mhm.
and I was hooked from there. So that was huge for me. Was that first summer just sort of seeing, okay, it works. I didn't know
Yep.
I knew nothing of what I was doing. I didn't have a routine. I was just doing
You're
the
just
stuff I knew.
working hard.
yeah, just working hard, just being consistent.
Yeah.
And then I got into the weight room in high school. We had a decent strength and conditioning program in my high school. I played football, ran track. Um, but on the back end, I was super into training. That was my number one. Was like I made sure I made all the weight training sessions for football because it was important to me that I got my heavy lifting in. It was important to me to look a certain way.
Hmm.
That was always very valuable to me.
Hmm.
Um, then, so fast forward through high school, I'm graduating. I didn't know what I wanted to do necessarily. Looking back in hindsight, I wanted to be an English teacher and a football coach.
Okay.
So that's what I think I wanted to do. So I was like, I knew I wanted to do something with teaching other people, you know? So I got to college. I found out that exercise science was a thing. I went to Cleveland State University. I got my bachelor's there.
Okay.
Actually got certified for personal training while I was still undergraduate,
Yep.
while I was still finishing my program. So my third year of college, I started actually doing personal training. I started working at the campus rec center while I was still a
Same.
student, so I was invested in that. And then outside of there, I started competing in bodybuilding in
Okay.
2015. So when football and track ended, I graduated high school in 2012. When football and track ended, I went through sort of that phase where, and I think generally people are maybe a little bit more prepared for this than I was. Like now, as far
Now
as
they just got more resources.
it's more resources in terms of there's a drop off when you go from being an athlete to a normal person.
Yeah.
I didn't have an identity outside of it. So I
Yeah.
spent that whole first year, I went through some stuff mentally trying to like kind of figure myself out, and then
Yeah.
I stumbled into, I was like, okay, because I still was training.
Yeah.
I
Of
didn't,
course.
I didn't have anything to direct myself towards. And that was a big struggle for me. So I found bodybuilding. I did my first men's physique show when I was 20 in 2014.
Okay.
I did a couple shows then, had some success on the local level. And then the next year, I started dabbling in powerlifting.
Hmm.
Um, and powerlifting is where things really took off for me. I kind of like it finally blended everything together. I got to look the part, I got to lift the part, I got to compete like on a high level.
Hmm.
I had something to train for, and that's where things really took off for me. Um, so I've done over 30 meets since then.
Fuck
Um,
yeah, dude.
yeah, I've competed regularly 2 or 3 times a year. Took a good amount of time off bodybuilding. I've done a show like every couple years to keep
Okay.
myself current on it.
Hmm.
Through all that, that's the stuff I was doing on the back end because I knew like my main goal was to be a personal trainer. My main goal was to coach, and it started to become more and more clear to me as I graduated college.
Okay.
And competing was my way of getting myself into a niche and separating myself. So I wanted to become expert level at competing so I could take my lessons and have it be relatable to people who want to do the same thing.
How have you found walking the walk to affect your ability to coach others?
So it's become more challenging the bigger my business has gotten, for sure.
Okay.
But in a certain way, I should say competing's become more challenging
Yeah.
because in college, I had more time to spend on that end of things, and earlier on. But in terms of relating to people, I think there's certain things, especially from a competitive aspect, that you just can't get if you've never done it before.
Agreed. Yeah.
Like to go through a bodybuilding prep, to put 700-800 pounds on your back.
Yeah.
Those are things like unless you've felt them, it's hard to describe what it feels like, and it's hard to know what that process feels like unless you've been through it. So like walking that walk has made me a lot more empathetic.
I'm so
It's
glad you said that. Yeah.
it's made me know where people are at through their process. When somebody comes to me with a concern, I can tell them like I can tell them, maybe some wisdom I've gained over the years and be
Hmm.
like, okay, I've been here. I've been there. I know what you're feeling. Here's what we have to do to remedy this. And then overall, just like trusting the process too. When you tell somebody to trust the process and they see you out there doing it,
Yep.
they're going to listen because they're like, he's doing it too. So like, there's nothing to worry about.
Yeah. I've always found that whenever I've competed, it's always galvanized my clients. Like
Yeah.
they've almost felt like they're along the journey with me because
100.
obviously we run a very high touch coaching service. So we talk all the time. So like every week in my clients' check-ins, they're like, "Hey, how's your prep going? You look great." And it's like, "Oh, you must be so tired." And now I'm in a position where I can say, "Hey, like, yeah, I'm a little bit tired, but guess what? I'm still showing up for you." And
Exactly.
that makes them value what's going on so much more. And not
Mm,
only that, when they see you pushing yourself, they okay, here's just a thought experiment because this is something that I've been thinking a lot about lately. At some level, your clients need to put you on a pedestal.
agreed.
They need to look at you and say, that is the ideal that I am striving for. So if you are not striving for your own level of excellence, it makes it really hard for them to want to strive for theirs when the motivation is low because they
Right.
don't have the tools you have with regards to discipline and habits and things like that. You're teaching them that. And but there also is an element where you have to flip the script because while they see you on this pedestal, they
Mm,
cannot see you as a judgmental person
right.
because
Exactly.
then it will create a distance in that relationship. How have you found your ability to kind of bridge that gap? Because obviously you're going to be far and away like more advanced than the clients that you're coaching, but you also want to seem relatable to them.
Yeah. So I think I'm an open book with my struggles. You
Okay.
know, that's been a lot of it. I try to share as much as I possibly can. You know, when they ask questions, and in terms of like actually when somebody comes to me, I don't know, I try to relate on their level as much as I possibly can. I try to remember what it felt like when I was in their shoes.
Mm-hmm.
So and I think that really helps people feel seen. A lot of people have said to me like, even that they look at like the level I'm at as a power lifter or a bodybuilder, and then like they hear somebody at my level talking to them like their goals matter or their struggles matter, and I'm not judging them. I'm not saying like, oh, you're not like me, you're not disciplined like me. I'm
Oh,
like I know I don't.
I hate that.
Yeah, right. So they see me not doing that when maybe they're expecting me to do that. Like, I'll still get on people and
Yeah.
remind them like, you got to be serious about your goals and you got to execute this kind of stuff. When they see me coming from my position, like you said, maybe I'm on a little bit of a, hold me on that pedestal a little bit, but they see me like talking to them like their goals matter, their struggles matter, and I can relate to it maybe with a story from like when I was in that position or
Mm-hmm.
something I've been through. Man, it helps. It helps so much because they realize we're all dealing with the same stuff, no matter what level we're on.
Yeah.
You know.
I come back to like the hardest thing you've ever done is the hardest thing you've ever done. And for a lot of our clients, the hardest thing they've ever done is actually what we're asking them to do.
Hmm.
Right. So if you have a client who's trying to lose a bunch of weight, or you have a client who has a really bad relationship with food,
Yeah.
this problem that they're struggling with is the hardest thing they've ever done. But
Sure.
if you can show them through your coaching that they can do hard things
Yeah.
and you can be that person who says, hey, listen, you have a lot on your plate. You're a single mom, you're taking care of your parent, you're working full time.
Yeah.
You still can get your training in, you still can do meal prep. And while I'm not dealing with the same barriers as you, I
Hmm.
run multiple businesses. I'm still able to do my cardio. I'm still able to do my meal prep. I'm still able to train because I prioritize those things.
Hmm.
One of the things that I'm doing personally, I don't know if you thought about this, but like just sharing more of the journey itself and like my day to day. So this week I've already filmed a couple of vlogs, just trying to like give insights into what's going on. And there was a night this week where I got home at 9 p.m. and I still had 2,000 steps to get in.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
guess what? I went around the block twice. I got
Yeah.
those steps in and then I went to bed. And
Mm.
these are the things that we have to show our clients are possible.
100%.
I could have easily said, fuck it, I'll do 2,000 more steps tomorrow,
Yeah.
which ultimately would have been fine because the average of steps for the week would have been over my goal. But those little things matter.
Yeah.
And so if I'm
Absolutely.
doing that, I can then expect them to do that
Yeah.
and they're going to feel empowered to do so.
Mhm.
So yeah, I love it.
Yeah, that's actually Gab and I were just talking about that this afternoon. We had a call with the two of us and our one assistant coach. We were talking about we need to like sharing what your day to day looks like.
Oh yeah.
Because yeah, that's so important. Like, in fact, this today I've been doing small. small snippet of what's like my day looks like,
Hmm.
how busy it is, what time I had to get up, these kind of things is, cause I do think as like as a trainer, when you're talking to a client, sometimes maybe they assume you're just in the gym all the time
Yeah.
and you have no other obstacles. So I think you're 100% correct. And I love that is sharing what it really looks like. But by doing that, you're empowering them to say like, look, I believe you can do this too.
Yep.
All it takes is prioritizing on your end. All it takes is action on your end and just making it happen, you know? And them seeing that and seeing you believe in them and then seeing you do it too, it's like, okay, this is possible. I'm seeing somebody else, a living, breathing person that I talk to every day doing it.
How do you manage goal setting for yourself and your business?
Yeah. So this is an interesting one. This is evolving all the time.
Okay.
Goal setting for myself has always been simple because it's always been okay, next meet, next
Right.
bodybuilding show, those kind of things. Right now for business, we're very objective based. What are we going to do every day this week to have, this short-term goal happen for this month?
Hmm.
So getting very specific on what we want our end goals to be at the end of each month. My wife and I write them out on our whiteboard each month, like what we want to have happen, how, we give a rough estimate of how many clients we want to onboard, how many programs we want to sell, how many gym members we need
Okay.
on board. So we get very specific on those things. And then it's just, it's the same thing as having a training plan.
Yep.
It's, okay, what objectives do I need to hit every single day to ensure I have the best chance for success for this to happen?
I love that you said that, man, because like, as a meathead, right?
Yeah.
You're like, everything is about training.
Yeah.
So if I can make business as parallel to training as possible,
Yeah.
you want to add 50 kilos to your squat. It's like, okay, that's probably going to take a few years,
Hmm.
but we can reverse engineer this and we can figure out like what assistance lifts we have to do. And we have to figure out the progression model we have to follow and all these things. Like, what if you just did that for your business?
Exactly. The same thing.
It's the same thing. And that was a really big, like, light bulb moment for me. I forget when it actually happened, but I was like, oh, like a business plan is just a training plan, but about business.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah. So that's the way we do like our objectives each week. Like, okay, to have this happen, I'm going to need this amount of content focused on this specific thing,
Yep.
So yeah, we reverse engineer it just the way we would, like a meat prep program for a client.
I love it.
That's the way we diagnose it each month. So yeah. Yeah.
So definitely a lot of parallels. But so now we're talking about goals. Like, what are the goals for Bryksquad?
Yeah. So for Bryksquad, the goal right now is obviously we're doing our expansion.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so we would like it. We would like ultimately the gym to be. We'd like to bring in more money through memberships. You know,
Yeah, with more space, you could definitely do that.
with more space. That's what we ultimately want to do. We'd like to have a lot bigger of a facility. Um, and in the meantime, just continuing to expand our reach, both like, on a local level, but also like worldwide level with our online training. And continuing to just build Bryksquad as a brand, as an identity. And share help as many people as we possibly can, like, live their best, their strongest, most confident lives. And that to me, that's going to be sharing our journey, taking people along our journey as far as competing, as
Mm-hmm.
far as building the gym and seeing our client results and all that. So ultimately, that's, a rough estimate. We'd like the gym to be, you know, it's never truly self-sustaining, but something that, there's a big membership base, and it's a heavy hitter in the gym industry for sure.
How do you balance the growth while maintaining the community feel?
Yeah, so that I mean, it's been playing the long game for me.
Okay.
I didn't I didn't focus on For me, it's always been not don't focus on scaling until I have everything's everything's never going to be perfect, but I wanted to make sure that I wasn't putting growth in front of like experience,
Yep.
of community, these kind of things, because I think that's that's an issue when people come in there right away. They want to get to 10K a month. They want to get to 20K a month, but your product's not great to begin with.
Yep.
So playing the long game's been the most important part for me because we haven't. It's been sustainable. It's been steady, but it hasn't been like a rocket ship.
Yeah.
So the people who are sticking around are seeing every part of our growth.
I think I think that is probably the best mindset to have when it comes to business because I think people get it backwards. They think, well, I need to scale first and
Yeah,
then iterate. It's like, well, no, if you start providing a really high level of service, scale will come by proxy.
exactly.
Because if you have, say you have 45 clients like you
Mhm.
and all of them love you and
Mhm.
all of them tell one person,
Yeah,
you could potentially double your roster in a month.
exactly.
And people ignore that. And that's growth that costs you $0.
Yeah,
So if you have Bryksquad Barbell and all of your 35 paying members love being at the gym, love the environment, love the community, and you say, "Hey, we're opening up the membership roster and we're going to allow 70 people now." It's not going to take you long to fill that roster because people want to be there already. And again, you have more space. So maybe now it is time to bring on a contractor. Maybe it is time to bring in a massage therapist or, whatever other revenue stream that you don't have to work for. To me,
exactly.
that's the ultimate gym model, gets you to a position where you don't have to be on the gym floor. You choose to be on the gym floor.
Yeah, that's basically like more or less like what we're hoping for, what we're working towards.
You're working towards it. You're not hoping for it.
Yeah, we're working towards that. It's I want to be at the gym. I always said like if I had all the money in the world, I'd still do personal
Me
training.
too.
Maybe I wouldn't go. Maybe I wouldn't go as many hours a week.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
How have you balanced? Okay, so that's an interesting point because this is another thing that I speak to younger coaches about because they'll come in and tell me their price points. And I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
But the reality is, I charge what I charge. But if I was financially free and I could do whatever I wanted,
Mhm.
I would still coach. So
Exactly.
it's challenging for me to charge what I charge because I would do it for free. How
It
do you
is.
balance the business side while also your passion and desire to help people?
Yeah. So the way I've kind of learned to look at this is I can't help other people if I can't help myself.
Hmm.
You know, so if somebody's price point's too low, they're always gonna have a scarcity mindset.
Yep.
They're always gonna be trying to scale. They're always gonna be trying. They're researching for the next client all the time. Instead of and having that stress impacts the way you can show up for the current people you have. So it is a balance of. For me, it's been because I'm the same way. Like I would coach for free for sure. I love it. But I know I show up better when I've got if it's a hierarchy of needs,
Yeah.
one of your basic needs is, financial stability. And so you need to set yourself up in a position where you're taking care of there so you can take care of everything else. And there's no shame in that. That's been hard for me to learn specifically. Like definitely have had struggle points with like, man, it feels unethical to charge X amount of money a month. But if you're providing the value,
Yeah.
you know, um, yeah, what it comes down to is I got to be able to take care of myself,
Yeah.
be able to take care of all my clients, give them the experience they deserve.
Dude,
So I think a lot of people put the cart before the horse with that and have it backwards.
I agree. And I think it also bears mentioning like you have to be able to validate the cost. Like if you're not providing the value and you don't have the experience and you don't have the evidence,
Mhm.
there's no reason why you should be charging an arm and a leg for your coaching. Like, what are you worth?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Um, what's the next meet for you?
So right now it's for sure I've got the WPPL Midwest Open in March. That'll
I've
be
never even heard of that.
Yeah, so that they brought that on. It's not at the Arnold, but it's right down the street. It's
Okay.
um it's an international federation. Last year, I did it this past spring too. Like Phil Herndon did that meet.
Oh,
I think he set an all time record with his sleep squat that day. So that's an invite only meet. Um, I did that one last year. I'll be doing that one, and I have another invite. Um, I'm tentatively going to go out to New York in January, which is another meet I did last year.
okay.
I'm signed up for it, just assuming all goes well with the gym.
Okay.
They and how much availability I'll have. So I'd like to do a wrapped meet in January and then a sleeved meet in March. That's what I did last year. Worked out pretty well, surprisingly. Um, I did a crazy end of my year last year.
Yeah.
I did the American Pro
Okay.
in November, and then so that was a big one. That was like that was the meet I wanted to get to.
It's a
That was
sick
like
meet.
the meet for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got invites to these other two. A gym up in Utica, New York that I went to. I met a few guys at a meet last June that I was at. I went up there. It was an invite only pro meet. So I was like, okay, well, I'm starting to get invites now. I want to go do these.
Yep.
So I did that. So I would say I need about 6 months between meets,
Yeah.
6 months to a year. So I'm okay. Okay, 3 months, I can pull that off.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Midwest Open reached out to me and invited me. So I was like, all right, fine. I'll sign up in sleeves and do a third one. So I ended up doing 3 in I think 4 or 5 months. It was an insane run. I don't recommend it.
Your body probably was pretty beat up after that.
Yeah, so I'm taking the rest of the year off competing. For that reason, yeah, it went well. All 3 meets went pretty well, but I think I was fatigued by the end of it for sure.
Yeah, no doubt.
You know,
If you had a billboard on the side of the highway for everyone to read, what would it say?
Oh man, let me think about this. Bryksquad Barbell. Oh man, something with champion mentality, champion mindset, building champions every day.
No, man, it doesn't have to be about business.
Yeah, not even about that.
Not even about business. Just anyone can read it. Anyone driving on the highway is going to read this sign.
Keep the promises you make to yourself.
Oh, buddy. Yes.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with the author Simon Sinek?
Yes.
So he wrote Start With Why. He also wrote The Infinite Game. Both phenomenal books. I was listening to him on a podcast recently, and he defined relationships and friendships as an agreement to grow with somebody. So whether it's a personal relationship, a business relationship, but he talked about how that same definition has to do with your relationship with yourself.
Yeah.
So would you want to be friends with somebody who didn't keep their promises?
Right.
And that really hit home for me because it's something that I preach to my clients. It's something that I preach to myself, and that I am always going to keep my promises to myself because I value when other people keep promises with me. And if I can't maintain that relationship with myself, then it's hypocritical. I love that you said that. That's fucking phenomenal and a great way to end the podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that, man. I'll have links to where everyone can find you in the show notes. But actually, the last question: if there's somebody that you wanted to see me interview on the podcast, who would it be? But the caveats, you got to get them on for me.
My wife.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I have two people actually. I would say. So my wife Gabrielle. She's a phenomenal trainer and business owner in her own right. I think she can provide a lot of value, especially from a female perspective. She coaches primarily females, so she's got a lot of experience on that end of things. And then my previous bodybuilding coach, Mike Eli.
Mike Eli. Okay, yeah. I don't know Mike.
Yeah, he's a IFBB pro. He's been to the Masters Olympia. He won a Masters World Championship last year, but he's in the Cleveland area.
Okay.
Phenomenal guy. He's been in the industry for forever. So those are two people. If I was gonna get him to you, that's who I'd recommend for sure.
Hell yeah. Listen, man, I will have links to where everyone can find you, Bryksquad Barbell, in the show notes. It's been an absolute pleasure to get to know you a little bit better, and we'll definitely stay in touch.
Absolutely, Paul. Thanks for having me on.
My pleasure. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Please make sure to like, share, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, and we'll catch you on the next one.